Okay, strengthener should be, let's see. Okay, newspaper editors should not allow reporters. So editors are above the reporter to write headlines for their stories. Why? I guess that's the main conclusion. The reason for that. Okay, so don't allow them. I suppose, let's see, the reason for that is while the headlines that report are often clever, what typically makes them clever is that they allude to little known information. The headlines allude to little known information that is familiar to the reporter, but that never appears explicitly in the story itself. I'm not sure I understand it properly. I think this I would guess. How tough is this? Is while the headlines are often clever. The reason for that is while the headlines that the reporter themselves write while the headlines are often clever, that they allude to. I think what this is saying is that the reason for this is that while the headlines, the reporter puts a headline, a quirky headline, the reporter puts a quirky headline, which the reporter understands, but the people reading the article don't understand. The editor, i.e., the editor is the person responsible for going into the shoes of a reader, the newspaper. The reporter will bring in jargon that the eventual reader will not understand, because the reporter cannot put himself or herself in the shoes of the eventual reader. That's the job editor. Make sure the language used is easy to read language. Something along those lines. That's the which the reporter understands. I think that's what this is done. This is what, in my view, this is what if you were to this is what this entire thing reports to this entire yeah. So the reporter makes a quote, the reporter will put a headline that puts in some some jargon which the reporter understands, but mm, but according to this, actually let me amend the rule, which the reporter puts in, which the reporter understands, but the people don't understand because it's not available in the article. It's an almost like an inside joke. You can think of it. Something along those lines. Let's see. The reporter is usually better placed than the editor to judge what the story is. Well, then no, because then the reporter wrong, because then the reporter will include stuff in the article, and then the headlines will talk about the stuff in the body of the article. So thus the reporter should be the one who writes the headlines. Write a headline that's like a person must have such the story. Well, yeah, the reporter does that. We already know that he does it, but we are saying that the reporter should not do. Most reporters really bother to find out how other reporters have written stories for the same that they themselves have covered. Maybe because the editor does that, and the editor puts in stuff in the body of the article that other reporters have reported on. Thus, reporter A has no idea what is in the article itself. There are at least a few people who know more about the story matter than does the reporter. But who are these people? Who are these people? Is it the editor? Or is it other subject matter experts? Like maybe the academic and not the reporter. I don't know, not too happy. The kind of headlines that newspaper editors want are those that anyone who has read a new reporter's story, the kind of headlines that editors want are those that anyone who has read a reporter's story will in it recognize as clever. The editors want are those that anyone who has read a reporter's story will recognize as clever. I'm not sure. So if any, I think this weekends. It's between D and E for me. Maybe D, but I can't eliminate E. I would guess between D and E. The kind of headlines that newspaper editors want are those that anyone who has read a reporter's story. I don't know. Does E really help? Kind of headlines. I guess it's between D and E for me, but I'm not able to understand why E is the answer. It's between D and E. I'm not sure which it is. The kind of headlines that newspaper editors want are those that anyone who has read a reporter story in its entirety. I guess I will go with E. The kind of headlines that a newspaper editor wants are those that anyone who has read. So why? Okay, but why does that mean that the? So why can't the? Okay, but why can't the reporter do that? The kind of headlines. How does that work with this? Okay, so if anything, this shows why maybe the reporter can make the headline because people who know more about the subject will understand what the reporter is talking about. So this weakens because there is an audience in case the reporter wants to become the person who writes the headlines. Who is that audience? It's the audience who knows more about the subject. I think even D is wrong, but I don't know why he's right. The kind of headlines that you want, the kind of headlines that editors want are those that anyone who has read a story but okay, but this places the editor to write the headline. But why can't, what is, how does this strengthen the reasoning regarding why the reporter specific can't do it? I feel like he doesn't strengthen the reasoning.